Hello and welcome to this very exclusive podcast interview with none other than very eminent legal mind of India, Prashant Bhushan. Thank you so much, sir, for agreeing to do this interview. So my first question is, what do you think about recent arrests and what is your opinion on UAPA?
Well, UAPA is known to be a very draconian anti-terrorist law where it is very difficult to get bail, and the kind of misuse and abuse of UAPA has been seen earlier also, but now it's become rampant.
Okay.
People like Omar Khalid or other students of JNU and Jamia or some journalists in Kashmir have been charged with UAPA
Hmm.
on the allegation that they have made some social media posts or given some speeches which are critical of the government and which cause alarm to the people and which bring kind of disaffection against the Indian state, etc.
Hmm.
Now, the thing is that the wording of unlawful activity in the UAPA is similar to the wording of sedition
Hmm.
in the IPC. Now, when the law of sedition was challenged, the Supreme Court said that if it is interpreted literally, that means anybody who creates disaffection against India or against the state or against the government
Hmm.
would be liable for charge of sedition. That would make the law unconstitutional. Therefore, they said that we will have to read it down if its constitutionality must be sustained.
Okay.
And by reading it down, they said that unless you are inciting either violence, unless you are inciting disaffection by advocating violence or by advocating or creating public disorder, until then it would not amount to the offense of sedition.
Hmm.
Same thing is true about UAPA also.
Okay.
Now, Umar Khalid, for example, has been charged with a speech where if you listen to that whole speech, I mean, the police says that no, he incited people to come out on the roads when Trump was here. That is certainly not, that cannot be called an unlawful activity under UAPA. And in fact, if you see his speech carefully, everywhere he says that we will answer violence by non-violence, we will answer this by chanting our national anthem and so on.
Hmm.
So therefore, it's a gross abuse of UAPA, and unfortunately, the government is taking advantage of the lockdown when the courts are also virtually under lockdown and have become dysfunctional to charge people under UAPA and arrest people. About more than 1,000 people have been arrested in Northeast Delhi.
So, sir, you want it to go away, right?
The UAPA should be done away with. In my view, it's a draconian law. It's
Hmm.
not required. The normal laws are quite enough to deal with even charges of terrorism, etc.
Sir, there have been several and long-lasting, like the debate has been going on for so long in this country and across the world for a separate law against lynching. What do you think? Should India have a separate law against lynching? I'm asking this because there have been so a huge number of debates on this.
Yes, I think we need to have not just a separate law against lynching, but we also need to, that law also needs to make it an offense for an officer
Hmm.
on duty whose responsibility is to prevent this kind of mob violence.
Hmm.
If he remains inactive or if he is guilty of inaction, if he knows about it and doesn't do his duty, that should also be an offense.
Hmm.
Because today, one of the things that we are seeing is that in the face of this mob lynching which is going on across the country,
Hmm.
very often police officers who are there also, they don't do anything to stop it.
Sir, some people also say we do not need a separate law against mob lynching. There are some other sections, IPC, those like sections of murder and other sections that can be applied here.
Yeah, but you see, we need to also make it an offense for officers who are in a position to stop it and who close their eyes uh, and don't stop it. That
Okay.
needs to be made a separate and serious offense.
Sir, now let's talk about COVID handling, how India has handled coronavirus. The most of the people across the globe and world has, given praise, have praised Prime Minister Narendra Modi for handling this because he made early lockdown. Do you think, how do you think how he has managed to handle the situation in India?
No, I think it has not been thought out at all.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, he has made this announcement of a nationwide lockdown without even consulting the relevant experts,
Okay.
because the task force for COVID, the expert body, if you might call it, was
Yeah.
only constituted 4 days before the lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
And the lockdown was announced even before they had their first meeting and could consider this issue as to whether the lockdown should be there or not.
So you are
So,
saying this on the basis of an article by Nitin Sethi, right?
yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
So, this the decision by the Prime Minister to impose a national lockdown seems to have been taken by him in the same manner in which he took the decision for demonetization,
Mm-hmm.
without consulting the relevant domain experts, without consulting even the uh, economic advisors of the government, without even consulting the then finance minister, without even consulting the then RBI governor.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing seems to have been done here
But some many
because,
experts, sorry to interrupt you, but some many
yeah,
experts are saying that now the curve has, started to come down in terms of the cases, COVID-19 cases.
in most countries, in almost all countries, the curve has started coming down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a natural consequence of as more and more people get infected, people develop herd immunity and so
Mm-hmm.
on. In fact, it's there are some researches which have been done in America and Europe
Mm-hmm.
which suggest that the number of people who have already been infected are far more, and therefore the number of deaths being caused or the number of serious illnesses being caused by this virus is far less
Mm-hmm.
in proportion than what is officially seen or believed.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, this virus is just like a serious flu
Mm-hmm.
in terms of its effects and so on. It's more infectious, but in terms of its effects, it's like, and in tropical countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, etc., in tropical countries, it has hardly caused any deaths compared to the
Mm-hmm.
populations of these countries.
Sir, I have a follow-up question to that. How do you think the migrant crisis because of lockdown has been handled and managed?
I think it has been very poorly handled. It was not even thought of when lockdown was imposed. In fact, prior to imposing the lockdown, these things should have been thought of as to
Mm-hmm.
what will happen to this migrant labor who are dependent on daily wages for their survival, not just their survival, their family's survival.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, how will they get any money? Some money should have been provided
Mm-hmm.
to them. They should have been given time to go back home if they wanted to go back home, and direct money transfers should have been made.
Yeah, and also, if I'm not wrong, there is also a petition in the Supreme Court of India regarding that.
Yes, there is a petition that they should be allowed to go back home if they want to go back home after testing them, filed
Okay,
by Jagdeep Chokhar.
okay. So thank you so much, sir, for your time.